the Fujinon XF 18-55. This is mostly a kit lens. Actually, it wasn't one for me because I got my XE3 with the 23 F2. But for most of the people, this will be the entry lens for the Fuji. And I have to tell you, it is really great. It is especially great for a kit lens. Okay, it is not really great because the really great one is the 16-50 probably, as far as the image quality is concerned, but it really is good for what it is, which is a kit lens, which you can buy for 300 euros. And you know, as far as size, this is the 23 F2, and as you can see, this is really compact. You start with F2.8 at 18, and I will just show you how it goes. What the hell? I think it's an auto, yeah. Now we're gonna zoom out, and at 18 we have 2.8, 3.2 at 20 or something, 3.6 at 40, 30 or something like that, and then 4 at 40 something, up until 55 or 50, you know, it's hard to say really. Okay, so we talked about the size. Now we are going to talk about image stabilization. This lens has an image stabilizer. You can turn it here off and on, and it is really great. I mean, it's really comparable to some of the in-body stabilizations that other cameras have. You can really, I will show you some photos that I shot at 55 at 1/15 of a second, and they are still sharp. The one problem I have with this lens is that you will see some purple chromatic aberration when you shoot backlit photos. This is probably the only situation when these things come up, but I've read on the internet and that this is actually an issue with the X-trans sensor, but really compared to other lenses, especially this one, this is the lens this is the prime I have, which shares the range with my zoom lens, so you really see a lot less of this purple aberration on the prime as on this one. So even if it is the case with all the X-trans sensors, this lens certainly adds to it. The image quality is really good. I would have to say that really across the aperture range and the zoom range, it is constantly sharp, also in the corners. Other than the aberration that I mentioned before, you really have nothing, I really have nothing bad to say about the lens. Is it really super great? Some people say that it's like, you know, it's all you need for the Fuji camera or something like that, or that it somehow compares to the 16-50 f2.8. It doesn't. It's really not super sharp if you compare it to what you get with primes. All of the, I don't know, micro contrast, you know, the feel of the photo and the sharpness, it's all better on the prime. So do not kid yourself that you will, you know, buy this lens and it's like the greatest kit lens in the world. I mean, really, if you want super pro results, you have to go with 16-50 f2.8. You also will not really have that much of image of subject separation, even at 55 and f4. The bokeh will not be that nice. I mean, you know, it's also APS-C, so I know it's only 1.5 stops difference in the depth of field, but really it scales as the further you go. So probably for portraiture and stuff, you will have to go with something longer and with you know, smaller apertures. Okay, now we will go to the photos, and I will show you some of this nasty chromatic aberration I got, as well as some high ISO and other photos so that we can see what this lens really produces through mobile. Now the reason why we are here is because somehow my computer cannot handle recording screen. I get stuck. Like this is my 5th approach and I switched devices. So these are full RAW files. I didn't sync them over the over the cloud, so this is not a smart preview or anything. I just copied them through the dongle. This is just a a tip for you guys. If you're doing that, if you want to copy the photos from the computer to the iPad, you won't see them if you just copy them to the card. You have to create the DCIM folder and copy it to the folder, and then you will be able to import them as if it was from a camera. Okay, so for an example, let me start with this one. So this is the unprocessed RAW. As you can see, the colors are just amazing. Now these are not really natural colors. This is the photos have a Fuji look to them, so if you want something more neutral, you have to think about that. Right, if we get close, as you can see, all the frame is really sharp. Everything in the photo. Now this is shot at base ISO. So it's ISO 200, 1/4 of a second. So this is from a tripod. Amazing photo quality straight out of the camera with no processing. This is probably more due to the camera than the lens, but if we get close, center is very sharp. Here, of course, we lose the depth of field, but you can see no distortions on air or anything like that. If you go to the corners here, I mean, it's a little bit less sharp than, for an example, here, but still very, very, very admissible, so to say. Okay, get rid of this one. Now I want to show you some nasty chromatic aberrations. So these are probably the conditions when you will see them, so that it is not a base ISO, it's a 320. And if you go to the corners, here it's really nice. But when you go to the corners, you start seeing those lines. Can you see them? They are like everywhere here. Let me just go here and I already did this with this file. So this is the original one. But if you pull the highlights, I mean, you can see those purple lines, nasty purple lines. And this is, I also shot some photos with the prime, like these landscape photos with 23 millimeters, and really, it is there, but it's not as pronounced as on this lens. Okay, get rid of that. A night shot of Berlin. I mean, most of those photos will be night shot because it's getting dark pretty early here at this time of the year. But again, everything's sharp, and we can see some shadows, how it handles shadow pooling. So this is, it's not really that much. So for an example, in comparison to Sony files, it's Sony full frame files. It's really not as malleable, but yeah, we can do something. And of course, if we do that, you can see some noise creeping in. This is base ISO. All right, the next one. Again, great sharpness. These are straight out of the camera, raw file colors, so, just amazing. You don't really have to do much. You can just apply some film simulations and you will be fine. This will be an interesting one. It's backlit and all the shadows here. Again, I did this too. So this is the original raw. You probably have to do this to the file. If we get close, it is soft, but it's really, really backlit, so you can really expect that. Other than that, this is the 0, this is plus 100. So the file is quite usable, just add some contrast, some color maybe, and it's completely fine. Off to the next one. Yeah. Here again, some shadow recovery. So as you can see, the dynamic range also isn't that great. I am comparing, I was shooting with a full frame camera before that, so probably it's not a right comparison, but as you can see, the sky is burnt, but the shadows are actually quite well preserved. If you get close, you can see some noise, but not that much. Next one. If you get close, you can see all the details. The lens is pretty sharp. If we go to the corner, all of it is preserved. No distortion, no unsharp areas, nothing. You can see this is just the corner of it, and it's, I mean, Fuji does really some really great lenses. You have to say that. Here again, the sky is burnt. I probably could go a little bit lower because I can go this high with shadows, but really on this photo, if you get closer, you can see the, you know, even with this shadow recoveries, can see some nastiness here. It's not really that sharp. It doesn't have the details it should probably. Next one. A night photo, it's shot through the glass, hence the distortion and everything, but just to show you, it's ISO 1600. And you can hardly see any noise on this. Here, a photo shot at 1/15 of a second with ISO 800, but handheld 42 millimeters, 1/15 of a second. As you can see, there's some nice movement here on car lights, but when we get close, all is sharp, all the details are preserved, and you can hardly see any noise really, and it is still sharp, so the image stabilization works really great on this one. This actually is at 5000 ISO. So of course you can see the noise, you can see some color noise, and really the photo is flat, but all the details are still preserved, so the high ISO performance is really good. You know, there's probably, it has to do probably as much with the lens as it does with the sensor, but let me just go to the corners here. There's nothing in this one. You see, it's just, you know, it just works on most, probably on all focal lengths with all apertures. It just works. You won't have any problems as you have with Sony, that you have to remember which aperture you have to use on which lens and which focal lengths are best and stuff like that. You know, nothing like that with Fuji, and it's just a kit lens. It costs 300 euros, used, of course. But you know, there are really a lot of those. You know, people just buy it at kit lens and then just sell them. One more shot at 5000 ISO. Still sharp and everything. Let me just check the shutter speed. 1/30th of a second. It's at 24. So this is kind of normal. You could probably get away with something like this without image stabilization. Another one, 1/30th of a second. This is actually a JPEG, so maybe, of course, the JPEGs are sharper and they have a feel to it that is really hard to replicate on Lightroom at least, but you know, they aren't that malleable. Probably if you're going for a certain look, you will be better off with RAW files, but really, I mean, look at this. This is a straight out of camera JPEG. There's nothing done to it, and it just looks amazing. Okay, maybe one more. I'm gonna pump the colors up and just get really close. You can see all the details on the leaf. You can see the water drops. I mean, it's really a great lens. Of course, the corners will be out of focus here, but you've seen the corners on some other photos. Okay, thanks for watching. This is my review of this lens. I would really recommend it to anyone. The brick, the 16 to 50 2.8 is really large one. If you don't mind the weight that much, you can probably go with Sony A7 Mark III when it comes out. I mean, when it comes out. And with the 24 to 105, actually, Fujifilm 16 to 50 2.8 and the Sony 24 to 105 f4 are almost exactly the same size, weight, and have the same filter size. So almost also the price is similar. But you know, for the Fuji system, for the APS-C camera, if you're looking for something lightweight, I mean, this lens is really amazing, especially for the price. Okay, thanks for watching.